Moving on to topic 2. Let's talk a little bit more wrestling, but we're going to talk about wrestling and video games. Let's talk about WWE 2K22's GM mode. And it's been, oh boy, this game released in March. So it's been almost 4 months this game's been out. We're almost got all of the DLC. I believe there's only one group left with like LA Knight and Xia Li, Commander Aziz, and some other people. Oh yeah, Logan Paul. And so the game's almost done, pretty much, with any post-launch plans. And I want to talk about GM mode. Probably the game I've played, or the mode I've played most in this game. And it's kind of surprising to me. Obviously, I was very excited for GM mode, as a lot of people were hoping for its return for years in these titles, and now we finally have gotten it. But yeah, I put a lot of time into this mode, whether it's playing it on stream, thanks for watching, or if it's been on my own. A lot of time, a lot of hours, a lot of rosters made, a lot of saves corrupted, a lot of tears shed. It's been a fun mode to play and kind of fantasy book and have the challenge of whether it's a computer opponent or a real life opponent. It's been a fun time. So now that we've had, once again, these 4 months since launch of the game, and we're heading towards the end of the lifespan, at least for new content of this current title, I kind of wanted to talk about GM mode and what I think they did well and where I think they could improve in this game mode. Let's start with the positives. Let's start with the things they did really, really well with this game mode. Obviously, they brought it back. That's a win. I know it kind of started off a little bit shaky in its initial launch. It was only, was it the 3 matches? Potentially 4. Wow, I'm already forgetting because of the update. Well, it started off with limited matches and limited promos. Okay, that's fine. It also started where you could only do the World Championship and the Women's Championship. No Intercontinental Championship, no United States Championship, no tag titles. So, from a title perspective, very limited in what you could do. So, iffy off the bat with its initial launch. However, what 2K did is they heard, at least I think they heard, all of the feedback or criticisms online. And with that first initial update and DLC patch, they added to it. They added more matches week to week, along with the pay-per-views, and they also added the tag titles for both the women's division and the men's division available into the mode. And I think it was a great step. Obviously added upon the mode, and it seemed like 2K was taking a different step in this year's game. They were kind of putting that like TLC, not tables, ladders, and chairs. They were putting that tender love and care into the game and actually giving players some improvements for it. Along with it, during that patch of the GM mode getting an upgrade, they released the My Rise characters that were only used for that mode. So your Dominik Dijakovic, Alexa Bliss in her old character, Nikki Cross in her old character, King Booker, I believe, was in there. King Nakamura. Regular Nakamura. So they gave... It was good. It felt really good that they were giving us stuff, and it felt like... they actually cared. Whereas previous years, it was just been like, it's been bug fixes, and it didn't seem like they were listening to the player base from time to time. Maybe they were. Maybe I'm being too judgmental, but... from our perspective, it seemed like that. So with this first initial patch where they added things or improved the situation for us, the players, including what they did in GM mode, it was great. It was like, oh, this is a lot more than we've seen in previous titles of theirs. It felt like a step in the right direction. So they added on to the mode, added different match, or not different matches, but more matches that you could create along with the tag title situation. Good stuff there. The challenge cards or the power cards or whatever they're called. Initially, I was kind of in the air about using these. Or like why they were included. But since playing it, I think it's a great thing that they kind of like added their own spin into GM mode to make it a little bit different from obviously past games of the SmackDown versus Raw era. I think these cards are great. Whether you're being aggressive or offensive against your CPU opponent or your, human player opponent, whether it's double cost of specialty matches, they can't use their champion, they can't use a random superstar, their most popular superstar, whatever it is. Obviously, that's part of the strategy mechanic that they've added to it. So there's that. And then you also have the cards that can help you. Free arena, free advertising, Hell in a Cell rates better this match, title matches are better, morale gets boosted, injury cards, the spa cards, whatever it is. It just, once again, adds another element to this game mode that allows for the player to have to strategize a little bit more and kind of think about what their plan is. Good stuff. Good stuff. I enjoy it. There is one card that I think is not a deficit, but probably isn't the best card I feel included, and that's the Superstar Training card. So essentially the purpose of that card is to take the local talent, the jobbers, the enhancement talent, whatever you want to call them, and you invest in them to make them like a permanent spot on your roster. So while I understand the reasoning for that card, as a player, personally, I don't sign the local talent ever. And it's not because, they don't have a role to play. Obviously, yes, they do. You put them in against your talent. It could be an easy win, or you need to fill a roster spot, a promo spot, whatever. They have their role. To me, personally, as the player, I don't want to see Chester, the mop man, in there. I don't want to see Lurch Evans in there, some guy with pigtails. I don't want to see Red Monsoon. I don't want to see these random creator wrestlers in here. It kind of takes me out of the mode, I guess. So, I would say that's the only card that, I'm iffy about. Now, I will bring up that card a little bit later. Well, no, I guess I'll bring it up kind of in this next segment. That's what's good for GM mode, or what is really good. So, custom rosters is a really cool thing that they added this year with GM mode, and I think is a pro. So, you can alter your current roster from your WWE, disc. Who's included in the draft, who's legends, who's local talent. You can adjust all of this, whether they're active, they're not active, whatever it is. This is a big pro because it allows you the option of customization. You're a WWE fan. Great. Some superstar did not get included in this title for whatever reason. Maybe they're released talent. Maybe they're newer talent that just didn't get scanned in. Maybe it's an older talent that is a legend that didn't make it to the cut. This custom roster allows you that freedom to create whatever roster you want. Old school WWE, you want to make that? Great. You want to make an ECW roster? Great. You want to kind of add to your NXT roster? Great. You want to make a fucking AEW roster? Yeah. I know it's a WWE game. Make whatever you want. The freedom here is excellent. And the thing that I think puts it over the top, and it's not a GM mode specific feature, it's just the creation suite, is the renders. Now, I know you're like, wait a minute, just a photo? Yes. For GM mode, that is all you fucking need to turn your brain off and kind of get into the game. Seeing an actual photo of whatever wrestler, superstar, knockout, diva, whatever you want to call them, legend, seeing their actual photo in the actual game makes it feel legit. And for some reason, like I said, it tricks your brain into being like, this is it's legit. So for me, it feels rewarding and doesn't feel like custom. I know that's weird to think about, but what I'm trying to say is let's say I'm adding NXT talent. So for example, Adam Cole, or former NXT talent. Adam Cole, Bronson Reed, Kyle O'Reilly, well, he's in the game, Bobby Fish, Blair Davenport from UK, Gigi Dolan, JC Jane, she's in there, Caden Carter, anybody I'm adding to this roster. If I just do create a wrestler, whether it's my own creation or it's somebody very talented in the community creation who's made a great character model, if I just use them and I place them in here, they're going to use the video game graphics, the 3D model in whatever victory pose, menu pose that the people have decided to do that. And seeing that photo along with the produced photo and content just looks odd because it's a standout. It's a sore thumb. It's the same thing even in your exhibition matches. You cycle through the talent and then, there's a custom superstar. You don't belong here. It looks off. It looks off-putting. So what I appreciate is with the custom rosters that we can create in this mode, having the ability to add the renders. Once again, I know it's kind of a separate thing. It's community creations. But having that small detail of being able to make the custom rosters and have this included, I think for me, adds depth to this game mode. Once again, you can include people who were not included in the game or who would never be included in the game because they're part of a different company. It makes it a reason to go back to this title. It gives that replayability. And personally, I've done it, and I'm looking forward to adding more superstars. I mentioned a whole bunch right there that I have added. Adam Cole, Bronson Reed, Bobby Fish, Davenport, Maiko Sadamuro's in there, Dolan and JC Jane's in there, Carmelo Hayes is in there, a lot of people. And for me, if you get the renders right and stuff like that, it's great. Now, for the way I play, where I just simulate everything, you just need this image. So your created superstar, your wrestler, because you do need the actual wrestler there. If you want to create them to look like Adam Cole looks like Adam Cole, you can do that. Or you can literally go into create a superstar, just assign them a fighting title, their fighting style, give them their name, and you're good. If you're never going to watch or spectate or play the matches, who gives a shit what they look like? Their render is all you and the player interface needs. Other than that, it's just data. So, very simple to make on your own. Like I said, if you wanted to, there are many very talented and creative people on the creative community creations area. Search somebody. Look up the Grizzled Young Veterans. Has anybody created them? Oh, yeah. Go download them. Download a render. Bam. You got a new NXT tag team in there. Whoever it is. People are nuts. They'll make legit people. They'll make the weirdest people you've seen anywhere. Like I said, it just adds to the depth of the game, adds this replayability, and it's rewarding. It makes this game mode fun to keep doing over and over again and doesn't feel the same. So, going back to the Superstar Training Card, something I haven't personally done yet, but I think I might start doing to get more legit and real talent into the roster pool, because obviously with the initial draft, you only get so many superstars. A lot of them are repeats. It's nice to kind of see new names in there. But then also, week to week, you manage your roster. You can get the free agents. There's only a finite amount of people into there, 12 to 15 names. So for me, from my point of view, once again, I don't get the local talent. So I don't care for Chester, Lurch, etc. A thought that I had where I can make this Superstar Training Card a little bit more enticing to me because they're legit talent, customize your roster, get rid of all of the local talent that's included there, and maybe make that your developmental roster or your NXT roster. So these younger talents that are in there, assign them to be local, and then you'll get more of a roster pool in your initial draft because you maybe have taken the NXT talent out of there, or maybe you've added to it. And obviously from week to week, all of those names are going to be legit, quote unquote, talents. Might add a little bit more spice and a little bit more variety to your show. And then the superstar training card becomes something more important. So let's say Carmelo Hayes. I drafted Carmelo Hayes, obviously a great talent. NXT guy from my assigning of him. He's a local talent, but I know the equivalent is he's NXT. If I use the superstar training card, it's like bringing him up to the main roster. I'm elevating him and making him more legitimate. Just a thought, another way to kind of add some variety to your game mode or gameplay and make it a little bit more enticing. Because like I said, they're all legit talents. I'll have to do that. So, those are some pros. What else is a positive for this mode? I will say, I'm kind of like, this is a pro and a con. The mixture of length of stories or gameplay that you can do. If you want to do a shorter game run, 15 weeks. 25 weeks for a medium, 50 for a longer one. Pro, because you get the variety of maybe you don't want to stick with that roster for super long, and it's a shorter game mode, longer game mode, whatever. Negative or con, you can't go past the 50 week. I can't tell you how many times I've drafted a roster and I'm like, that was a lot of fun. Like I feel like I'm just getting into the swing of things once I hit that that WrestleMania season. And I was like, and it's done. All right, I got my win or I lost, and then there's no continuation after that. So I would say that's a con. You can't just, it's not endless like it was in years past with SmackDown versus Raw. Another pros. I like the challenge of like your GM or Triple H kind of talking to you and being like, hey, don't put so-and-so in a match. Try and do this match. It's nice to kind of have that reward system. If you do it, great. If you don't do it, no big deal. Not the end of the world. Fun little thing there. And then last thing for the pros, I guess I would say, is the styles. This was another one I was a kind of a mixed bag on initially, of like trying to understand how it would work. Fighters against bruisers, cruisers against giants. Specialties can work anybody. Over time, being a little bit more, once again, strategic with how your roster is built, kind of rewarding to have once you figure that all out. Can it be a bit frustrating at times? Absolutely. What do you mean I can't put this guy against this guy or else I'm going to get yelled at by Triple H? Shut up, Triple H. Let me book the show I want to book the show. I get that's a little bit frustrating. You could be a little bit more flexible where just anybody can fight anybody. But from a strategy point of view, it is kind of rewarding to kind of hit all the check marks of like, oh yeah, I hit that, I did that, I did that. I figured out the puzzle. Haha. So I like the typing. I know it's not for everybody, but it can be a rewarding piece of the puzzle for this game mode. So now the cons, or where the improvements can come in. Okay, so we kind of talked about the length of time. I would prefer if this game mode was, or at least had the option of an endless mode. Keep going with the roster you have. Usually by the end of the year, especially if you're doing a 50-weeker, your money is usually, you have a shit ton. You either meet your 2 million that you started with, or you have way more than you need, and it's kind of, useless. So even if you had people that had a year contract and it wasn't the permanent roster, at that point you could rebuild your roster, whether you wanted to start fresh from scratch but keep the momentum you had, or okay, I'm going to re-sign half of you guys, but you know what? These people aren't doing that great. Let's scrap them. So I think that would be nice. It would give a reason for really that money in the end, because other than that, it's just like, well, after a certain point, you spent all the money you can. Even if you're doing max arena, max graphics, max advertising, at some point, it's just check boxes, and it doesn't feel like anything's really happening, or there's no detriment, I guess, to spending. Like that strategy's kind of gone out the door. It's just there. It's automatic. So if you had to think about, oh shit, at the end of the year, Bobby Lashley's contract is up. If I want to keep him, I got to make sure I have X amount of dollars. I think that would be another thing you need to think about as a player and kind of help add to the experience. So there's that. Kind of piggybacking off of that, though, this game mode is not stable. From a single player perspective, from a personal experience, I think it's been good. I don't think I've experienced many crashes, if any, under a single player experience, whether it's 15 weeks, 25 weeks, or 50 weeks. However, from the two-player perspective, this game crashes all the fucking time. Don't know why, don't know what's going on. 15 weeks is most consistent, that one will run smoothly. 25 weeks will crash, 50 weeks will crash, and it is frustrating as shit. 50 weeks seems to crash the most consistently. I think we've tried it maybe 6 to 8 times where we'll do a full draft. We will book our shows up until the pay-per-view, and then either it will crash as we get to the pay-per-view, or we will book the show, try and simulate it, and it will crash there. Now, frustrating in general because it crashes. It wouldn't be that bad if the file didn't get fucking corrupted every time. So even if you try and reload it, it's like, nope, sorry, this file's messed up. You can't do this. You're screwed. Sucks. And they haven't worked on it. I mentioned at the very beginning of this topic, like that first patch felt so good as a player. Like, oh my God, they're going to put free things into these patches. It's going to be rewarding. It's not just like, oh, we tried fixing this bug. Like, they're going to add the GM mode stuff. They're going to add the My Rise Superstars. They're giving this additional free content and kind of rewarding their players, I guess, for hanging around after the shitstorm that was WWE 2K20, taking the time off and putting the love in here, and now they're going to give us more. But then after that, there was no additives, nothing added to the game other than obviously DLC, but you had to pay for that. Like, the love and care seemed to stop. Now, once again, this is just me from a fan perspective. Obviously, I'm not saying that the actual developers are just like, whatever, fuck you. No, I'm sure they're putting a lot of time and effort into this and have become invested in this project as well. But that is something that needs to be worked on. I know this is their first year tackling it under the 2K umbrella. I get that. So bugs are going to happen. Flaws are going to happen. They just need to learn from these things and make it better. I'm sure in 23, when this game mode comes back, it will be better. They can only go up from here. God, I hope so. Maybe they'll add the US and IC titles into the mix. Maybe they'll add the North American title. Maybe they'll add triple threat matches and fatal 4-way matches, or different ways to build your rivalries when you're in a tag team, because the only fucking way to build in a tag team is having the matches over and over. Maybe they'll add these things. However, from a stability and gameplay point of view, I really wish they would fix this, or at least try and fix these crashes now, because it's a little demoralizing, I guess, after a point. It's just like, I've tried this 3 times and it's not going. Whatever. So there's that. So what else is there? What else could they improve in their GM mode? There's what I just literally mentioned it. The additive stuff, like the mid-card titles would be great. The different match types would be great. Adding some variety there, whether it's the triple threat, fatal 4-way, ladder matches, I don't fucking know, other steel cage, stuff like that. That would be great. It's not, I know everybody was kind of up in arms because we had the precedent from SmackDown versus Raw, last one in 08, of like, this is what GM mode is. And I think everybody was expecting like a copy paste, and 2K just be like, here you go. But no, they wanted to do something different, so they kind of built this from the ground up. We got to be patient with that. They're going to try and add those things. So hopefully in 23 we'll see some progress in that facet. Yeah, I don't know what else really, I guess, to improve. I like the GMs that they had. I like the different kind of specialty cards they had. Maybe making it so those were reusable would be a little bit better, just from a player perspective, instead of just a one-time only thing. And also a little bit more, I would say, description of what certain things do. How does morale play into my matches? If they have a higher morale, does that add to my matches, or does it just prevent them from talking to the other brand and wanting to sign with them? The promo abilities, the 5-star ranking, I think is fine. It makes sense. Is there something that you could make a little bit more clear as to their performance? It took me a little bit of time to discover that if you simulate everything individually, it will tell you, oh, they raised 6 popularity here. Oh, they got you $8,000, whatever it is. I think if you kind of took those individual stats and kind of presented them in a different way, if I simulate the entire show, that would be better. So, like, for example, if I simulate the entire show, I can look in depth in matches and see the star rankings, and then I can get the full description of how the match played out. But you can't do that for promos. You can't go into the promos after you simulate everything and see how they performed. You just know, did the rivalry increase if it was a call out? I don't know how the charity event went. I don't know how the advertising went. I don't know how the just self promo went. Did it go good? Did it go bad? Whatever it was. So I would say taking the things that you learn from simulating everything individually and making that available for someone who just simulates the entire show, I think that would be helpful. The Twitter feed. I know it was a fun idea to do this kind of social media stuff. If there's crucial information in there, make that a little bit more apparent, or don't even have it at all. I know they put like the little marker, the little highlight, if it's like so-and-so is a good tag team, this is their specialty match, whatever it is. I feel like that only happens once in a while. It doesn't feel like a necessary feature if new things aren't going to kind of constantly pop up, if that makes sense. So, iffy on that. And then that same screen with your match quality, things of that nature, make that a little bit more clear of how like that affects your ratings, how many fans you get, stuff like that. I shouldn't have to look at this thing and formulate a mathematical equation to know why the result is the way it is and why one show did better than the other. Shouldn't be that way. Maybe make that a little bit more clear, but maybe I'm grasping at straws now. Overall, I love GM mode. I think it's a great mode. It's a lot of fun. Like I said, especially with the customization aspect of your rosters, it adds so much depth and replayability to it. And it's chill. Very chill, especially when you're on your own, whether you want to write it down like me, who you drafted, what your rivalries are, all this fun stuff, or you just want to kind of zone out with it. It's a good time. I'm glad they reintroduced it in this year's game of 22. Whether they make a 23 or if they wisely kind of stagger the releases to give themselves a little bit more time to put the love and care into their titles. If this game mode returns, hopefully it just gets better and better. Like I said, this is 2K's first attempt to add it. So, not bad for the first try, but it can only go up from here. That's the hope. That's the wish. Hope you guys enjoy playing to GM mode as well. And, we'll have to see where it goes in the future from here.